Hello, in the previous video we drew a roof plan, and now in this video we will draw a typical site plan. Thanks for watching. Here we have the roof plan already drawn in AutoCAD and the site boundary shown by this green outline here. What we need to go along with the house is a garage, one I have previously drawn here already, but just to show briefly how to draw that. So let's draw a rectangle and make that rectangle line up with the front of the house for now, and let's move it out by 2000 millimeters or 2 meters, and then we can draw that garage to size. So 6065, that's 6065 millimeters, by minus 8990, and if you look carefully that will actually line up with the overall dimensions for the gable end of the house there. And let's explode that using the explode tool and offset by 400 millimeters in the same fashion that the two gable ends of the house are, and we can draw a line down the middle just to replicate where the ridge line is, and offset by 200 millimeters on one side, and let's just trim that off so that the roof tiles or whatever the finish is there is complete, and use the array tool. So this time, because we're going in the horizontal direction, we do want columns as opposed to the previous video where we had rows. The row needs to be 1 and the gap in between needs to be 200 millimeters, and let's see what that looks like. Okay, almost there, so let's just fill in the gap and select the block and explode it, and whatever way you prefer to replicate the alternate lines on the opposite side. I'm just going to select them all as required and use the mirror tool, and there we have oh, that was clever. So just select the lines you need and use the mirror tool, and this time don't hit escape, hit enter. So we have the garage and the roof finishes shown. Now if you look carefully at the brief for the project, certainly in the current year when I'm recording this video, you need to make sure that the garage is moved back from the front of the house. So I'm going to move it back 1 meter or 1000 millimeters there, and just simply at this point I'm going to create a block. That's the create one there. Okay, so pick point, I'm just going to choose the top corner, select objects, I'm going to call it garage. Okay, and then with the other one I'm going to select the objects first, click create block, call it house, or maybe actually just call it roof plan. Pick point, again just choose somewhere that makes sense, click OK, and we have those two items in place. Now relatively speaking, actually this is the front of the house, so we need to rotate that around but keep the position relatively the same. So I'm going to draw a diagonal line and select the block and just rotate it. I'm going to override the point that we rotate that by, so choose midpoint and hover over that line and then just type in 180 to make sure it's turned right round to face the opposite direction, and then we can delete the diagonal line. Now we can delete this other one because I don't need that. That is the house and the garage, but we need them on the site, and we want to rotate it so that the side of the house and the side of the garage align with the edge of the site here. So I'm going to draw a line. We are currently on the GA roof plan layer, of course, and I'm going to offset that by 6,000. Okay, so that's where we want the house to be, or the edge of the garage to be, and a gap of 2 meters between the house and the garage. So let's rotate that, or sorry, move that up here. And at this point it's probably a good idea just to rotate it by 90 degrees, so that leaves us a slightly smaller angle to move it by. And just select those two items and click on the rotate tool. We're going to specify the base point, which again will just override the snap point and make it intersection. To override, just hold down Shift and right click, and then click the intersection. But watch just carefully there at the cursor. You can press the down arrow on the keyboard and choose reference. So specify the reference angle. Just click again down there on the intersection. Make sure you click the right point, and then zoom out, and first of all click the side of the garage, and then click the end point there, and that lines that up exactly with that angle. Now that angle is 326, so that is something of a slightly random angle, I suppose, but you just want to make sure that you get that where you want it. This line, then we need to take a copy of that and just rotate it by 90 degrees, 90, enter, and we're just going to move that then to the end point here. Actually I'll move it to that point. We're going to offset that first of all by 10 meters, so 10, 0, 0, 0. And then we're going to offset it by another 6. Nope, that was wrong. Offset 10 and then 6. Okay, so move it to line up the back corner of the guides with this point here, so that should give some space around. I think actually maybe 3 meters might be a good idea from the guide, so let's just offset that by 3 meters or 3000 millimeters, and let's just move the house from that point and make sure that it's to the perpendicular. If that perpendicular tool isn't coming up, just snap, change the snap points. You can add it maybe by clicking here and doing that, but sometimes it's a good idea just to go in and check them all. Object, snap settings, endpoint, midpoint, center, perpendicular. Some of these other ones you may use depending what you're doing, but those ones are generally the best ones to use. Okay, so that's 3 meters now between. There are a couple of windows I think here, so it's a good idea just to give a wee bit more space for lighting purposes. And then we can draw a line here at the side of the house and offset by 6 meters again. Okay, let's try and tidy the drawing up a little bit. Use the fillet tool, but make sure that the radius is set to 0. So click here and click there, and we can delete that line. And let's draw a line just across the front of the house here and offset that by 6. It may well be that in this case a client has asked you to see if you can maybe drive a car around the house, and with the design that they want, this is something that you could present them, and then they could choose whether or not they want that much asphalt or driveway, etc. around the house. So let's delete that line too. No, maybe not. What we want is a little bit of a flower bed at the front here, so we want that to be 2 meters. We offset by 6 meters earlier, so let's offset that by 4. Okay, now we can delete that line, and let's copy, just extend that first of all actually, so extend to the outside boundary, and then copy that line, and rather than have the driveway completely straight there, I think it's a good idea just to rotate it. So I want to rotate it by 30 degrees, but I think that has to be minus 30. So yeah, that's the right angle. Okay, select it, move it to the endpoint up here, and then we'll put in a driveway entrance of 6,000. Okay, so offset by 6,000, and then we'll just use the fillet tool to trim that off, delete that line, and then again just trim the line off at the front there. And this bit is the only part that needs sorted still. So let's draw a circle of 6,000 diameter here. You want to make sure that there is enough space just there for a car or whatever to get around. So we could draw a line here across to the perpendicular, and then delete the circle and use a fillet tool, but this time let's give it a radius of 2,000, just to give a rounded edge to that flower bed. And then that leaves us quite a large asphalt area around there that's eaten into the garden a lot. And I would say you can have a little bit of preference there in terms of what you do with the layout. Certainly if you want to have a good wide area at the front and maybe a little bit of parking area here and less asphalt or tarmac at the back, that's maybe a good idea. Give a bit more garden space. Obviously the design brief for this particular design, it is a house for a family with 3 children, so it might be a good idea to give them a bit more area to play. And if you check the for those taking this module, if you check the module area, there will be this drawing here, and you can get some cars and people and trees, and also the north points that you can choose from there. For anyone else watching the video, there are plenty of good websites out there that you can download some of these blocks from. So I'm going to copy over a couple of cars, a couple of people, that north point because I like that one the most, I think, and just a few of the trees. Let's see, take that one, and we'll use that one for bushes maybe. So just Control and C and over to the other drawing, and then let's just put them on here so we can move and rotate those as we like. That one, just rotate it. Again, you could line it up exactly with the drawing, do the accurate rotation that we did there a moment ago. But I'm just going to do something like this. Put a couple of cars in the driveway. You can see there's plenty of space around there, so you could give a little more efficiency with things if you want. I'm not sure where that person's going, so maybe rotate it around a different way and just move it. You can hold a block down and maybe move it like that. And the north point, as I've said before, I don't think it's a good idea having that actually on the middle of the site, so keep it off to the side like that. And the bushes, we'll put a few bushes maybe just at the front of the house here. Copy that out a number of times. That's picking up a slightly awkward endpoint just there, so let's do something like this. And what you can do is maybe change the scale of those slightly, so let's make that one 1.2, just a little bit bigger. This one again, a little bigger, we'll make it 1.5, just so the sizes look a little bit different. And this one, let's scale it by 1.2 again. And the trees then, those can maybe be alternated down the back of the site, or heads can be put in, or whatever. Again, different scale sizes and things like that would be good. So a few other things that you may want to consider putting in, and again, blocks can be downloaded quite easily from various websites. Just make sure that you have a good virus checker on whatever machine you're using. You don't want to be going into a website and picking up a virus or something like that. But other things that you might want to put in here, maybe a little bit of a timber decking area. You could put in maybe a shed or a playhouse, something like that. Indicate maybe where there's a stoned area or a paved area. You might want to put in a garden bench or a barbecue area, something like that. Maybe even a trampoline. So hopefully there's enough information there to help you do a good site plan, and hopefully the video has been helpful. Thanks again for watching this video. Don't forget you can like and share, and you can also subscribe to the channel.